Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday Unity of Reading celebration. Today is February 7th. Our daily word for today is inner peace. I express the peace of God. Peace, be still. With these words, Jesus claimed his authority and calmed the stormy waters. Following Jesus' example, I too claim authority. In a stressful moment, I center my awareness in the divine presence that lives in me and expresses through me. This divine presence is perfect life, love, and wisdom. It is peace that nothing and no one can disturb. No matter what may be happening around me, at the center of my being there is always peace. It is an aspect of my divine inheritance, as near as my next thought. I release all fear and tension and embrace the peace of God. As I do, divine peace radiates from the center of my being. It clarifies my thoughts, calms my emotions, and relaxes my body. In every situation, I am a presence of peace. And from Isaiah 26:3, those of steadfast mind, you keep in peace, because they trust in you. So today I'm continuing to review the Back to Basics and the Unity 5 principles. As you remember, the 5 principles are: God is absolute good and everywhere present. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. We are co-creators with God, creating reality through our thoughts. Through affirmative prayer and meditation, we connect with God and bring out the good in our lives. I like the kids' version of these principles. God is, I am, I create, I pray and meditate. And the last one, and maybe the most important one I'm presenting today, knowledge of these spiritual principles, which we call truth, is not enough. We must live them. Or as the kids' version is, I act. I say the most important because, unlike what we may have heard, knowledge is not power. Wisdom is power, and wisdom is what comes when we put our knowledge to good use. Knowledge on its own is not power. So many times over the years when I present workshops, classes, or even messages, I hear people tell me, but we know all this stuff already. It reminds me of the pastor who gave a brilliant, inspiring sermon one week, and the congregation loved it. And the next week he gave the same sermon, and he continued with the same sermon 6 weeks in a row. Finally, thinking that the pastor was getting senile, one of the deacons mustered up the courage to confront the pastor. He said, "You realize you have been giving the same sermon for 6 weeks in a row now." The pastor replied, "I am so glad you realize that, and I will continue giving that same sermon until everyone begins to live it." So hearing, we know this stuff, yes, most of us do know all this stuff, but are we expressing it in our lives? Until we are living it and expressing the Christ consciousness, we really only know about it, and we do not know it. Jesus said, "Know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Jesus is not referring to knowing about something, but to truly knowing it becoming a part of us. And once we begin to live these truths, we will see the changes happen in our lives. It is not only talking the talk, but walking the walk. At some point, we need to reach a place where we understand that we are not just learning spiritual or metaphysical concepts as an intellectual exercise, but rather studying a spiritual discipline by which we intend to live our life. As my children were growing up, the family had a ski boat and loved water skiing. We would constantly take our friends and all our kids' friends along and teach them to water ski. Before they got into the water, we would teach them the basics: how to hold yourself with the skis in the water, how to hold the rope, how to keep your knees, etc. So by the time they got into the water, they might be able to say they knew how to water ski. They knew the basics, but I don't think anyone really said they knew how to water ski until they actually got into the water and experienced the thrill of skiing. As James 4:8 says, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." This means we have to take the action first. Life is not a waiting room. Whatever we affirm that we have, we must be and become. There's work for us to do. It's not enough to learn these truths, but we have to incorporate them into our being and live them, really become them. It's like driving a car. We learn all the basics of driving, the driving laws, and then we practice driving. When we get comfortable enough driving, we can get in a car and driving becomes automatic. We don't even have to think about the process, what to do. It is a part of us. We know how to drive. We know how to drive. So it is with this truth. So it is with truth. We need to practice these in our daily lives so it becomes our nature. Only then will we know the truth that sets us free. Our fifth principle instructs us to take our spiritual knowledge, practice, and tools and apply them mindfully, deliberately, compassionately to every aspect of life, taking personal responsibility to create good in each situation we find ourselves, first rising up our inner vibration to a higher plane, and then acting from that place, then collaborating with each other to raise the vibration of a collective consciousness of the planet, thereby causing the shift of the increasing realization of liberty and justice for all, a world that works for all. This is our calling. This is our ministry here and now. We need to understand that none of what we know or believe to be true means anything if we are unwilling to live in accordance with that truth. All the spiritual, scientific, and practical knowledge in the world is meaningless and ultimately impotent if we do not take action to live by and implement the truth we know in our own lives. As Jesus taught, even so faith, if it hath not works, is dead being alone. Yea, a man may say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show you thee my faith by my works. Thou believest that there is one God. Thou dost well. The devil also believe and tremble. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? The manifestation of good in our lives is our work. If you question if you're living your truth, look at your physical surroundings. Our reality is a reflection of our beliefs, our thoughts, and attitudes. Our life is an expression of our belief in our own divinity. Living our truth starts with a sincere self-evaluation, not to beat ourselves up, not to disempower ourselves or to create a self-pity party, but to really do a self-check if we are living what we say we believe or just giving it lip service. Our inner being, this inner observer, our divine spark, is prompting us, perhaps even taunting us with insistent questions. Do you really believe what you are saying? If so, what are you going to do about it? How is this belief expressing in your life? With the unity truths in mind, ask yourself, do I really believe there is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life? Do I believe that this one power and one presence, which we call God, is good? Then do some self-reflection on your recent thoughts, attitudes, and words. Are my thoughts, words, and actions expressing this belief? Or have I been giving my power away to something else? Am I fearful of the power of evil, lack, and disease? What are the works I am yielding from my present beliefs? Then ask yourself, do I really, really, really believe we are all spiritual beings created in the image and the likeness of God, the good? Do I really believe the Spirit of God lives within each person and that therefore everyone, including me, is inherently good? Are my thoughts, words, and actions expressing this belief? Do I recognize the God in myself and treat myself with love and respect? Do I recognize God in others, especially those I dislike and call evil or put down? A Course in Miracles teaches we should look at those who jerk our chains the most, or those that can upset us or disturb us the most. We should look at them as our saviors, as they are saving us from our false beliefs. Those people or situations are here to show us that we separate ourselves from the truth. It is not easy when people push our buttons, or more to the point, when they scrape our wounds, to keep in mind that they are our best teachers. It is far easier to lash out verbally or in our minds, both having the same energy released. We need to remember we are guardians of our own thoughts, words, and actions. We must stand steady, monitoring our state of being. It's too easy to ask, what's wrong with me? But we need to ask, what is going on within me? Where have I faltered in living my beliefs? We need to ask ourselves, do I really believe that we are creating our experiences by the thoughts and feelings we allow to predominate in our consciousness? Jesus said, everything I have done, you can do also, and even greater works than these. What have you manifested or created recently in your life? What works have you produced from this belief? For faith without works is dead. Do you really believe that we can access God's divine creative power by spending time in meditation and affirmative prayer? Do I really believe we can increase our awareness of our oneness with God by practicing meditation and affirmative prayer? Then ask yourself, how much time do I spend in silence, in prayer and meditation? If my words, thoughts, and actions are a continual prayer, what prayer have I been praying? According to renowned Unity minister and author Eric Butterworth, the great challenge of our age is the virtual absence of meditation from our daily lives. Butterworth describes meditation as the art of lowly listening. In Unity, the fourth principle teaches that the only space where we may lowly listen is in silent meditation. Without making time for silent meditation in our lives, we do not exercise and demonstrate our creative potential, mainly because we do not make the time to contact with its source. Very few of us are born into a state of having all the answers, even though some of us may think we have all the answers. We look externally to gurus and sages for all our answers when the process of connecting to oneness is so simple, yet not easy. Our only mission is to connect and serve, but we humans are famous for complicating the simple. It seems there is no other way than to begin one's journey than by looking outwardly, especially being immersed in such a sensual world. There comes a point, though, that outward thirst can turn inwards, and potential for an internal shift puts one more in charge as the master over our thoughts. To establish a physical relationship or friendship, we spend time getting to know that person. We want to spend time in their presence. Yet, how many of us take the time to spend in silence with ourselves and our higher power? In the practice of spending time in silence, we connect with our own indwelling Christ presence. Through this connection, we have access to the field of all divine knowledge, intelligence, and wisdom. Connecting with this source, we become aware of the power of our own creative potential. However, simply having access to this source does not guarantee we will be successful in actually demonstrating and expressing our fullest spiritual potential, even if we hear the truth of it while lowly listening. Even if we faithfully spend time in silence in accordance with the fourth unity principle, once again, if we do not take time on the truth revealed there, we cannot exercise and develop our innate creative potential. It's the same as in physical exercise to condition our bodies for fitness. If we do not exercise our spiritual powers, we cannot condition them to achieve their fullest potential. Like all spiritual powers, in order to ever have a chance of developing or expressing them rightly, we have to ask for them or claim them first. No one gets spiritual understanding without first seeing the need for it, then actually asking for it. Again, believing it is there for us to claim it. But even if we do ask for it and earnestly claim it, while we are lowly listening, it will be virtually no value or usefulness if we do not subsequently live in accordance with the underlying principle. We have to express that truth. Even if we desire to express unconditional love or unfailing wisdom, we will never fully or even partially develop our capacities to do so without consciously and proactively taking action to develop our capacity to use them rightly. The development of our creative and spiritual powers does not happen by accident. We have to take action in their direction. Likewise, just because we have a potentiality, unerring power of judgment and spiritual discernment, it does not mean that we will actually demonstrate good and wise wisdom and judgment. We see the demonstrations of bad judgment every day. However, we also see expressions of wise judgment every day as well. The only meaningful variable is whether we ourselves are demonstrating our own powers of reason, discernment, and understanding. We may have access to the field of all knowledge, intelligence, and wisdom, but we must be willing to express them before they can have any meaningful influence on our lives. We have to be willing to seek them first, claim them, and then live in accordance with the truth principles they embody. If we are willing to do so, there is virtually nothing that is impossible for us to achieve. of the truth that we know. If I find I am not expressing the truth I say I believe in, if my walk does not match my talk, then I can ask myself, what has to change in me, and what am I going to do about it? Gandhi's simple statements of being the change that we want to see in this world is the only way. Without doing my own work of clearing the beliefs that limit love, I'm only attempting to externally create in others what I believe is lacking in me, not realizing I only desire to love and be loved. When I realize that heaven is within and create from heaven, then I realize thy kingdom comes on earth as it does in heaven. We have the ability to do our own work. One way is listening to our best barometer, and that's our body. When the mind is running amok and creating turmoil in our lives, chewing on resentment and self-pity, we feel it in our body. It's astounding what seemingly invisible thoughts do when we focus them in a self-centered way. The atomic bomb's incredible force comes from implosion before explosion, and we fall into an imploding state of mind. It is usually soon that those around us feel the exploding tension initiated by our thoughts, words, and actions when not centered in truth. Let's face it, I don't know anyone today who totally live these truth principles on a daily basis 100% of the time. I don't know anyone yet in this life that can walk on water. And I always say, I teach what I need to learn. I know I sure fall short on many occasions on a daily basis. It is my own personal responsibility to live life based on spiritual principle rather than on whim or emotion. If I ignore the truth that I know, if I fail to consistently live in alignment and accordance with this, then what right do I have to complain when life doesn't yield to my human desires? The only things I can truly change in life are within myself. This is my responsibility. And as I said, and as it is said, if nothing changes, nothing changes. If I don't change, nothing changes. Thinking, believing, and doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is said to be insanity. If we want to change the results we are getting in life, then we must change our actions. However, before we can demonstrate a change in our actions or behaviors, we must experience a change of mind. We must make changes in our consciousness before we can create different effects and consequences in our life. And this is the work for each individual has to do for themselves. There's no magic cure. There's no magic affirmations. There's no savior, but it is our own knowing of the truth and living our truth that sets us free. To understand the 5 unity principles, we might say the first 4 principles primarily deal with spiritual truths that invite us towards a shift in consciousness. However, they do not really demand action of us. They are simple statements of universal truth that remain true whether we believe them or not, whether we take action or not. By contrast, the 5th principle definitely calls us to action. It reminds us that of itself, truth can have no creative power or helpful value in our lives unless we consciously live in accordance with it. This truth flows freely when we wholly accept our own shortcomings, not belittling ourselves, but to knowing that we're doing what our course of experience calls into place and cannot awaken without feeling love. Those identifying with a belief in lack do not need more of the same, but can be awakened in the presence of love. It is only by understanding and application of love in action that the 5th unity principle comes to fruition in our lives and those around us. At the end of the day, the only questions you need to ask yourselves are these. Is the way I showed up in life today an expression of the truths I say I believe in? Once we have decided we agree on the truth as stated by unity principles, then the only question remaining is, what am I going to do about it? As we close this series on Back to Basics, I invite you to continue exploring the depths of truth implied by the unity principles. I encourage you to make a conscious decision about each one of them. Remember, the truth does not need our agreement in order to be true. The truth remains true whether we believe it or not, but by believing it becomes our truth embedded in our consciousness. As A Course in Miracles states, the truth is true and requires no defense. However, we should be on guard that we do not defend ourselves from the truth. The truth will set us free. But first, we must free our minds so that the truth may reveal itself. Once we have come to recognize and know the truth, the only thing left for us to do is to live it and express it in life. Let our thoughts, words, and deeds come from heaven, originating within, allowing the kingdom of God, of love, of truth, to manifest on earth. We are love in action, and so it is. Next week, I want to continue with more specific exercises, tools, and suggestions on how we can live our truth and put what we believe into action. I look forward to seeing you then. At this time, we'll take these thoughts into meditation. So I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. Take a deep breath in. Feel the energy of the universe. Let's focus on the four unity principles, the spiritual truths that we believe in. Take a deep breath in. Breathe in the action of God, the love and the peace and the environment around. Know that you are a part of this love, part of this peace. Feel this peace permeating your entire body. And go into the place of silence, where you can lowly listen. Where you can be still and know that I am God. Let these following affirmations well up from within you, for your inner being knows the truth. Affirm there is only one presence and one power in my life. God, the good, omnipotent. From this place of knowing the truth, affirm God is everywhere present, and God is always good. Therefore, good is always present in my life. Let me see the good as I live through this principle. Let me affirm the good in each situation. Affirm God is present within me. I have been created in the image and the likeness of God. The Father and I are one. I contain the same potential of Christ consciousness as Jesus. Truly feel those words. For Jesus said, what I can do, you can do also, and even greater works. Feel the power of that. Feel the presence of God, the presence of good, the presence of power. Affirm, I and the Father am one. And with God, all things are possible. Feel that power. Claim that power. Know the truth of the power of God. Now affirm God dwells in each and every person. Therefore, all persons are inherently good. Feel the truth of this statement. Make a commitment to look for the good, for the love, for the peace in each individual. And know that as you look for the good, you bring the good out. You add to that divine spark already within them, so that their light can shine also. Bring to mind someone that you have trouble seeing the good, the God in. And take this time now to look beyond the outer ego, beyond the personality, and affirm, I see the spark of divinity in you. The Christ in me acknowledges the Christ in you. And as I see the good and the Christ in you, I allow you to express it in life. I allow you to see it for yourself. Affirm, I create my reality through my predominant thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs. Know that every thought, every emotion, every attitude, every word is a prayer. Make a commitment to now say, I speak only those words of truth. I think only those thoughts that uplift myself and others. I express the truths that I believe through my thoughts, through my attitudes, through my actions. And my world is a manifestation of these spiritual truths. I know that as I sow, so I shall reap. I sow only seeds that I want to see grown. I sow seeds of love, seeds of harmony, seeds of peace. And then I nourish those seeds with loving thoughts. I see the good coming forth. And I know that this comes forth from the power of God within me. Take this time now to make a commitment to come back into the silence on a daily basis. To claim your power, to claim your oneness, to claim your connection with God, all power, all love, all wisdom, all knowledge. Know that it is yours for the claiming. Also make a commitment to use these powers for good, to express these truths in your life. For as you know the truth, as you live your truths, as you express this truth in your life, these truths shall set you free. And so it is. invite you before you leave to take some time in silence and lowly listen, and then commit to following through on what you have heard and see your life change. And so it is. Amen.